Hi guys, thanks for joining us for another episode of the Trading Tales podcast here at Nordic Funder. We're here with Chris Featherstone, who is the owner of SMT FX. He's been in the game for 8 years and he's based in the UK, Cambridge. Chris is a full-time trader and educator. So Chris, how have you been?
Good. Yeah. How about yourself? Thanks for having me on.
No worries. Not so I'm excited about this one because Chris has got a lot of experience, and I know personally from being in his community once that he is the real deal. Okay, so get ready for this one, guys. So Chris, what we're going to do, we're just going to go from like how you started, just talk a little bit about your journey, and then we'll get some fun questions in, and that's kind of the thing that we got going on here, right? So we'll start with how did you actually get into trading?
So I got into trading it was just over 8 years ago. I was in the armed forces and I was just leaving. So it wasn't like a normal job where you hand in your notice and, a week or a month later, you've left. It was like a year-long process. So I had to go through like a transition of leaving the military. So in that time period, I didn't really have anything solid lined up. So in that year, I was looking for work. I was looking for, ways of making money. And, I kept hearing a lot about Bitcoin at the time. And I think about 8 years ago, I think it was somewhere around about $300 a coin. And so as I was looking into it, I was hearing all these stories of people getting rich very quickly. And I thought, yeah, I'll have a bit of that. And I think a lot of people were drawn into that whole, get rich quick sort of environment. So everywhere I was looking to try and buy Bitcoin, all of the websites, you didn't have things like Coinbase and stuff like that where they have really nice looking websites and stuff. At the time, it was just really old, outdated looking websites, and everything I looked at just kind of looked a bit scammy. So the closest thing I could find in the UK at the time was a broker called Plus 500. May have heard of them, I'm not sure. But yeah, they've been around for quite a while, and when I did a Google search, I could see you could, invest in Bitcoin. What I didn't realize at the time was it was leverage trading. So, excuse me, it was leverage trading, and I wasn't actually buying Bitcoin itself. I was trading, leverage. So in hindsight, I obviously know what I did wrong. But back then I thought, yeah, I was buying Bitcoin. So I put about £100 or something like that into the trading account, clicked the buy button, made sure I used the full entire margin. And the following day I had pretty much doubled my money from about £100 to £200. I was like, oh, all right, this Bitcoin thing is, it's looking promising. I was like, oh, okay, this is easy. I just, did the usual thing, like, okay, right, well, maybe I might start adding some more into this. There's some more money, and getting onto the internet, looking at how much a Lamborghinis and stuff like that. And so I remember the following day, it was day one, bought Bitcoin. Day two, doubled my money. And then day three, I was like, right, let's check on this. Let's see how it's going. And my account was completely empty. And I was like, what's happened here? So very first trade I ever took, blew the account. But yeah, I had no idea why I had lost the money. So I started looking into this. I was like, right, have I just been scammed? Like, out of all my money here. 100 quid a time wasn't really much, but still, it was enough to sort of make me think, what's going on? Yeah. But the more I looked into it, the more I realized what I had done wrong. So I started to look at what did a long and short mean. At the time, didn't even know what a stop loss was, didn't even know what a take profit was, stuff like that. So the more I started to look into have I been scammed or not, the more I realized actually I was a bit of an idiot and didn't really do my due diligence. So I realized eventually I wasn't actually buying Bitcoin. I was trading it. I didn't fully understand at the time why I would have lost all my money, because I was looking at the charts and, just looking at the price charts. I was like, well, Bitcoin hasn't gone all the way to zero. So why would I lost money? So that's kind of where everything started. So as I started to research what I had done wrong, I started to get a lot more fascinated about, just the financial markets in general, not just Bitcoin. I started looking at stocks and shares and stuff like that. I started looking at Forex. And so when I started to look more into how do I go about trading, that's when I started to see there was a lot more information about Forex. So that's where everything kind of snowballed from there. And like the obsession, I'll be honest with you, like I did build up a really big obsession. I still am now, but I built up that obsession from my initial failure and, you know, trying to understand what I did wrong. And then as I was learning what I did wrong, it just became like a big snowball, really. It was just growing and growing and growing. And
something really interesting. It's just by a mistake almost that you kind of got into it.
yeah.
That's
A mistake thinking
interesting.
I was going to get rich quick, but
Yeah, interesting. So, talk to us a little bit about, you know, what you do, like SMT FX. When did that start? What sort of concepts do you teach there, and what gave you the idea in the first place to start this little academy?
so it started at the end of 2021. I think it was around about the October, November time. And I've basically been looking at various ways that I was learning how to trade myself. I made a lot of mistakes. And, you know, I went from that point of like swapping strategies like every 5 minutes, trying to learn the newest and greatest thing. But one thing that I did notice when I was trying to learn, whether it be through YouTube or looking at ICT concepts and stuff like that, I just found it very difficult to piece everything together. And I did join a few communities, you know, back in the day. And the thing I didn't like about it was if you had a question and you were stuck with something, it was very difficult to get a proper answer. So I wanted to create something that kind of fixed all the mistakes and the struggles that I had when I was going through that process, and try and streamline things and make things a lot clearer and simpler for people that do join SMTFX.
Yeah, nice. Actually, you're one of the only traders I've ever come across that trades live with the students. So over the last couple of years, you were trading like a variation of smart money. Am I saying that correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you've kind of not switched, but from that you've gone to a strategy that you've developed yourself, which is based on Silver Bullet, but there's other things that you've kind of added in, which is really, really interesting, to be honest. What do you like most about it? It's called the DRS, right?
Yeah.
And what does that stand for?
So DRS, it means daily rule set. So
daily rule set. What do you like most about it?
That it is purely rule based. And so one of the things, like you said, I was trading sort of like, you know, ICT smart money concepts, and one thing I didn't like about it. So actually, one thing I did like about smart money concepts is it provided some logic as to why certain things happen in the markets. So, for example, when I was learning to trade, I would always have the question like, why would price bounce off a trend line? Or why would price react to a certain type of pattern? And the only answer I could really get was, oh, well, it just does. And I was like, well, and I was thinking, well, there must be, you know, the markets are man-made. You know, it's not like a natural thing that just happens to exist. So I just thought, well, you know, there has to be a reason why this is happening. So I could never really get a straight answer. But when I came onto things like smart money concepts and, you know, watching some of the ICT content, I thought, actually, there's some logic here. There's somebody trying to explain why price is reacting from an order block, or why price is reacting to a fair value gap. Whether that is exactly what is going on behind the scene, I don't know. But it provides some sort of logic, and it just really resonated with me. But one thing
that gives you a little bit of direction almost, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But what I didn't like about smart money concepts in general was just how open to interpretation it could be. You know, so you could look at, you know, some of my beginners content on YouTube, or you could look at anybody else on YouTube that was, you know, teaching sort of, you know, your generic ICT stuff, and it can be very subjective. You know, I could come to the conclusion that I'll be looking for a long trade on GU, for example, and you might look at that same course content and say, actually, I'm looking for shorts. So it was very subjective, and I didn't like that. Now, when it comes to the DRS, the daily rule set, like you said, it is inspired by the Silver Bullet, and there was a few elements that I really liked about the Silver Bullet, and that was the specific time windows that he was looking at trading opportunities. And I did initially look at the Silver Bullet. I think it kind of went viral. It was kind of like the big talk for, you know, quite some time all over social media. And I remember looking at it thinking, okay, right, I like the look at this. But I started back testing it. I thought, That's very subjective still. I didn't really like it. I started to just look at some confluences that I used anyway. So my prior strategy that I was using was called LSM, just liquidity sweep mastery, and it would focus on a lot of like liquidity sweeps, would be daily, weekly, monthly highs and lows.
That's literally what I used to do as well. Just keep it real simple.
Yeah, but the LSM, I'll be honest with you, it's quite a complex strategy. So I took some elements of that I really liked using, like liquidity sweeps, like session highs and lows, daily highs and lows, stuff like that. And I just kind of narrowed in a smaller time frame where I can say, right, I'm only going to look at the London Open and a small portion of the New York session in the afternoon. And I just took a handful of confluences that I used to use all the time. Like I said, fair value gaps, POIs, liquidity sweeps and stuff like that. And I just thought, right, let's just take some of the stuff that I really, really like and really resonate with, and then just see if we can put things together. And what I didn't want to do is go down that rabbit hole of, trying to add too much, trying to, use very complex order blocks, breaker blocks, using turtle soups and just finding all those bugs. I just wanted to keep it nice and simple and just as objective as possible.
And I totally agree with you there. I really like your strategy, and actually you've been smashing it recently, haven't you?
Yeah, so the last couple of weeks have been really great. So Q1 for us was, I'm not going to lie, I'm very transparent about my trading. It was a little bit tricky to start the year. But the data that I've collected for the strategy, I thought, well, it's a rough patch and push through it. And now we're coming out the other end. So when I say it was a rough patch, it wasn't like, I think maybe there was 1 month where we finished in maybe -1 or 2. But
that's not the end of the world, is it? Really?
No, it's not exactly. Yeah, but every other month so far has finished in the green. So this month is going very well so far. Touch wood. Last month was going nicely as well. So it was a challenging start to the year, and I'm just very fortunate that things are turning back in favour. So
I feel like January. I never touch anything in from like the 10th of December to like 18th of January. I just never touch anything, just because there's not that much volume in the market, and for me it's like there's probably some positive trades to take, but they might swing like this for a while, and it just makes you think crazy things, you know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah.
So do you have like kind of a memorable I got this from trading, like a memorable moment where you're like, oh geez, I really, really can make this work? Could have been in your early days, or maybe it was in your later days, where you thought, right, I got it.
So it was around about I want to say over 5 years ago, I started looking at smart money concepts, and I think what happened was I started looking at it and finding that, okay, we've got some logic to those issues that I mentioned prior. Smart money concepts just resonate with me. So what I wanted to do was really test it and truly understand, because I think back testing things like pattern, support and resistance, it was relatively straightforward, but there's a lot more complexities when it came to smart money concepts. And for me, I would say aha moment was when I figured out how to structure my back testing properly. So you've obviously been in the community, you see how much I go on about back testing. I'm such a huge advocate for it. It's not something that's going to make you a decent trader overnight. It's not one of those that as soon as you do all your back testing, you're ready to go live. There's a transition period. But for me, it was once I had a solid plan to backtest, I was like, right, actually, I can now gather some decent data here and really understand what it is that I'm doing. And that I really pushed that to the edge with the DRS when I was creating that.
Nice.
I've got like up to 4 years worth of data across a couple of assets now.
Yeah. So any beginners that are thinking about looking to a trader for advice, Chris is the one for backtesting. He will tell you that if you backtest enough and you find out that your strategy works. You can use that data to then put yourself in a strong position confidence-wise.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, I rate that, Chris, because you used to do live backtesting course as well. So like, you could just, if you had like 10, 15 students on there, like, oh, why did you do that? Oh, I did this because da da da. So yeah, really great. I love that. So what do you like about teaching, and would you say there's something you learned from teaching that was quite like unexpected, maybe?
I would probably say going back to the days when I was in the military was where I kind of found that I like teaching. I don't think I would have the patience to be a
Motivation. Yeah.
yeah, no, I don't think I'd have the patience to be a school teacher, because a lot of people have said to me, "Why don't you do school teaching?" But knowing what I was like in school, I would not want to be up against a student like me.
Little troublemaker, are you?
I wouldn't say I was a troublemaker. I was the disruptive kid.
That's what I was as well. My school reporters were just like, Alex doesn't shut up. He's a nice guy, but he doesn't shut up, basically.
Yeah, kind
So,
of. Yeah.
can do better.
But for me, yeah, when I did get qualified with coaching in the armed forces, and just seeing people going out and actually graduating and passing their tests, and going out into the wider world of the military, it was a really humbling experience, and I really, really enjoyed it. And seeing people pass, their exams and stuff, I just thought, oh, okay, no, I really like this. Especially with it was people that wanted to be there, and that's something I really enjoyed, is when people want to be there and get through
That's
the
a good point.
process. Yeah,
good point. It's like so I did a little bit of teaching and just really basic stuff, basic market structure before for trading. And then I had like, a couple of people messaging me saying like, friends and stuff. They were like, oh, can you show me? And like, I would do like an hour and say, look, you got to do this and this. And then they would just flake off and not do it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to help people that don't want to be helped, really. Just because it wasn't like making $1 million straight away. If I'd showed them like some basic stuff and what they could just start to look at, they were just like, yeah, I'll do that. And then they never go around to doing it. It's like, yeah, but you don't actually want to you don't want to learn. You don't want to be here. So it's the same
absolutely.
again with my mother. She was a teacher, and obviously she didn't really like teaching that much, because there was so like half the kids there were just like, I don't want to be here. So it's very difficult, but if people, I'm sure if all kids wanted to be in school and were attentive, I'm sure it'd be a perfect job,
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
What's your favorite part about being a trader, and your favorite part about being a teacher?
Okay, so my favorite part about teaching is just seeing people grow and get to the point where they want to be. Seeing people get funded accounts and passing challenges. I generally, it warms it warms my heart, if I'm being honest with you. It's great to see that people are making that step to better in their lives. And it's a very saturated world out there when it comes to trading. It's very difficult to find the right place to go. And I'm not saying I'm the right place to go. Some people might look at my strategy and think actually it doesn't really suit them, and that's fair enough. But for those people that it does suit, it's really humbling to see those people progressing and getting funding and making those changes in their life to become a full-time trader. So that's the thing I really enjoy about the teaching side of things. But my favorite part about trading is, it's kind of a generic answer, but it's the freedom. And I have a little boy. He's 5 years old, and
Nice.
I want to be there when he's growing up. And one thing I didn't want to do is be working like a 9 till 5 or working a shift work job and not see my boy grow up. And when I was a kid, my dad was a lorry driver, but he used to do a lot of long distance. And he also did a lot of shift work. So
hard job that.
Yeah, absolutely. And hat off to my dad. I don't think I could do that. Obviously, he had to do what he had to do to put food on the table, but I just didn't want that for my son. Growing up, the only time I saw my dad really was on the weekends. But if he had shift work, he would be sleeping in on the Saturday, so I wouldn't really see him on the Saturday. Maybe have Sunday with him, then it's that week again. And I didn't really want that.
So you've taken that and you thought, right, okay, well, I don't want that. So, and you've gone to kind of the extreme where trading's very, very free kind of job. Sometimes it is too free though. I found myself kind of twiddling my thumbs a little bit sometimes. Not until recently. So do you find it difficult to balance between the two, or do you think that gives you kind of an equal? So obviously, like you got how many students have you got? 100, is it? 100?
Yeah, it's like there's about I think 160 in the Discord at the moment.
160, they're pretty active, and everyone kind of knows each other. People have been in there for a while. Everyone seems, in my opinion, quite successful. You know, there's various people with funded accounts. Strategies dead straightforward, and it's going really well this last couple of months, touch words. So yeah, do you find it difficult to balance the two, or do you think that with all those people and making sure they're okay, it's kind of about right, you know?
Yeah, no, I'd say it's about right. So one thing that I always wanted to make sure with SMT is that it doesn't get too big.
Yeah,
I wanted it to be manageable for myself. So there's a couple of levels of memberships there. You've got like the standard membership where it's like, you know, you can access the Discord, you can access the content on the website, but there's also the mentorship as well, which is a little bit more hands-on, which would involve me, you know, jumping on Zoom calls throughout the day. So that's something that does keep me busy. I like to keep busy. I think I would go nuts if I had nothing else to do between those trading windows. But yeah, it keeps me busy. It helps me help them. But also, if there was too many people in that, I just wouldn't have a life at all. So I have tried to keep it as, you know, tightly knit and closed, small as possible. You know, I don't want to get in too big because it would just be too much for me. It'd be too much for everyone else as well. Yeah, I think. You know,
and then also some of the people that join will suffer then because they won't have as much attention from yourself. And
exactly.
Sounds. So what qualities do you feel like help you as a trader?
I'd say discipline. I've had this question a few times, and people ask me, how do you become disciplined? And it's not really something that I would say you're born with. I think it's something that you either grow up with or you can kind of learn or self-teach. I think my background being in the armed forces does really help because as a trader, you have to be disciplined. You can't just look at the charts and say, oh, right, it's NFP. Let's click that buy button. Let's go.
Yeah.
You know, you have to, you know, understand when to sit on your hands and wait and, you know, take those correct trades. So having discipline, I think, does really, really help. And it also helps me keep things structured as well. You know, things like my back testing and my trading and stuff like that. I have to keep things as structured as possible. I used to do bodybuilding after I left the armed forces. And when I say bodybuilding, I wasn't like, you know, your big Arnold Schwarzenegger. It was more like the aesthetic side of things. And so that was something else that I really focused my discipline and attention on for, you know, a good few years. And I think that, you know, fitness and being ex-military, I think it really helps keep things disciplined. And I have noticed, like, a lot of the people that I've met in the past, I'm not saying those that are not ex-military or into fitness won't do well in trading. I'm sure there's other qualities that could really help people, but I've noticed that a lot of the people that I've met that are involved in fitness or even ex-military, they do make great traders because they understand they have to remain disciplined.
Yes, it is all about discipline. I think most traders as well, in the first year of their learning curve, especially when you start winning a couple, you're like, I got it, right? And but then that generates more confidence, which then means you are more likely to break the rules, i.e., pressing buy when the rules are not, you know, your confirmations or your rules are not there. The trade's not there essentially. Just get in. It might be all right. So that is so key. Like, and I did think that about you, Chris, when we were chatting before. I was like, your discipline's actually like unreal because like you've sat out of the markets for like 10 days when there's been like a decent opportunity, I guess. And then there's one or two guys that were like, oh, I might take a pop on that one, and you were like, no, I'm staying out of this one. So and those trades ended up losing. So I thought that was pretty impressive. So
yeah, absolutely. I think you mentioned something as well there about the confidence side of things and maybe being a bit too confident. And That's actually something I've experienced quite a few times, actually. I think the very first time I ever tried to take a funded challenge with FTMO, it was FTMO about, I want to say 5-6 years ago. It was one of the very first ones that I decided to go for. And I did the free trial and I was like, yeah, this is easy.
Bossed it, mate. Easy.
Yeah,
Next
yeah,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, I did
Yeah.
the same thing.
Yeah, exactly that. So I was like, oh no, I've got this in the bag. You know, I looked at all my past trading on my personal accounts. I was like, yeah, no, I've got this. And I took the challenge. And this was in the days when they had the 30-day time limit. You had to pass it in 30 days, and phase 2 was 60 days.
That is honestly, that rule, I'm glad they got rid of that. That was actually very tricky, I think. Like, very tricky.
Yeah, I didn't like it at all. It encouraged traders to rush.
Yeah.
And especially, you know, if you are in that moment where you're feeling overconfident, you're like, 30 days, it's a month, it's a long time. But
yeah,
you know, in the grand scheme of it, like 30 days, like you said, I've gone 10 days without a trade.
You might not have a setup for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I've literally gone like 2 weeks before, and I haven't seen anything that I liked on that particular instrument that I was like trading at the time. I was just like, well, come on, it's gonna come soon, like. But you can't do that because you're just gonna end up losing.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they got rid of that rule.
I think I got to like day 29, and I think it was because you have to make 10% with FTMO, and I think I was somewhere around about the 6-7% mark, and I was like,
should I just chance it? Go on.
Yeah, I tried putting. I think I took one trade and it lost, and I think it brought me back down by like 1% or something like that, and I was like, do you know what? There's one day left. I think we were down at, I think I was around about plus 5%. So I thought, right, well, as long as I don't get to drawdown, I can retake the challenge. It won't be an issue. And then I thought, do you know what? I'm confident. Let's just put that 5% risk on, try and make the difference up.
Go on.
Yeah, isn't that obviously a losing trade? I think I managed to end up getting into a bit of drawdown. I was like, oh no, right, confidence, let's go. And I started revenge trading, and then I failed the challenge. But afterwards, I was sitting there and I was like, right,
what did I do wrong there? Well, it's quite easy.
I lost my head. I was too confident, and it bit me. So
tilted. Well, we used to call those trades Hail Marys. You know, like just like here we go, just blast it.
Yeah, pretty much. But that's what overconfidence does to you.
Yeah, no, 100%. You start hitting those, like hitting 2 losses in a row, and that's when that's when your head goes. You think, oh, I've got to. It start. For me, I had a really bad losing streak in like 2023 in March, just when I went kind of full-time trading.
Yeah.
And when I started relying on trading, that's when my trading went bad for like 6 weeks. I literally couldn't beat an egg. And then, I started in my head. I was full on tilt. I was reading this book to try and deal with it as well. Essentially, I was like saying, well, I've lost 5 in a row now. So I've always had like good risk to reward ratio, and I've lost 5 in a row now. I can't lose the next one. So lost 6 in a row. I was like, well, if I lose this one, I'm like, what is going on? Lost that one as well. I was like, this is not right. I've never lost that much in a row with the strategy I had. And I was just like, I felt like someone was playing tricks on me. I was just like, I look back over my trades. They were the same setups, but I just had it in my head because I had years of data on the back test that had never happened before. But that doesn't mean it can't happen, right? Yeah. So it is what it is. So I decided to back test again and just kind of try and put other things into it and refine it a little bit that way. So what habits would you say that benefit you trading wise?
So there's 2 habits that I would say has really helped with my psychology and just trading in general. So my first one is I meditate every single morning without fail. Nice. I use an app called Balance. Don't know if you've ever heard of it, but I use that, and it has like a daily streak. So it's kind of like, it's almost like a kind of a game for me now that I can't lose that streak. I think my streak's at like 550 days or something.
Dude, I'm doing one of those on Duolingo because my wife is Spanish, so I'm learning Spanish, and I'm on 100 and something, and I can't lose that streak, bro. I'm in like a league and everything, so now I have to do it. So yeah,
My
go
wife
ahead.
and son are on the Duolingo as well, so they don't want to lose their streak either.
Good app. It's a good
Yeah.
app, honestly. Like
Mm.
it's helped me a lot. But yeah, go ahead with the meditation.
But yeah, no. So meditating, I think it really helps me get my head in the right place in the mornings. So I'm not really a morning person at all. So, and especially when you've got a 5-year-old boy running around refusing to get ready for school in the morning, you're already getting those little things in your head. You think, oh God, right, here's the start of the day. So as soon as he's gone to school, get my headphones in, do about 10-15 minutes of meditation in the mornings. And
That's nice.
it just helps me sort of, level out my mind
Nice.
to get into the right place. And then the other habit I think that really helps with my trading is I journal everything. Absolutely everything, back testing, live trading, missed trades. Even if it's a missed trade, I had this conversation with someone a while ago, and he's like, "Oh no, I don't journal missed trades because they weren't trades." But
Yeah.
well, actually, yeah, they were trades. They were just trades that you weren't prepared for. So
Yeah.
I journal everything, and I meditate every day, and I think that really helps me stay grounded.
Talk to me about your trading style in terms of risk management. What's your approach when it comes to like high volatility stuff like news? Do you stay away? Like personally, I don't like news. I will stay away at all
Yeah.
costs. But like some people love it. Like I had Abdul on the show before, and he's like, I don't wake up with this news.
So yeah, there's 3 news events that I will categorically avoid. First one is NFP, interest rate decisions, and CPI. Those are the ones that if I happen to have a trade running near those news events, I'll just close them. That's the
Right.
only time I will touch a trade if it's running outside of the rules that I have in place. Other high impact news events, like it could be, I don't know, maybe something like PMI or something like that. I tend to just go with it. So if it's mostly the USD news that I try and avoid. But luckily, with USD news in the UK, most of the time they come out at about 1:30 UK time. My trading window is at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So if things like NFP have happened, or any other high impact news events have happened, by the time I get to the New York trading window, it's kind of died down. It's only when I have a trade running from London in the morning, in the build up to maybe NFP or an interest rate decision, that's when I have a bit of an issue.
Sounds similar to mine, to be fair. Sometimes it can just go both ways a lot as well. So if I'm in a trade, it's kind of dangerous. Even if you put your trade to break even, though, like there's slippage and stuff, so it's kind of
absolutely
yeah. So it's probably best not to just get involved. There's plenty of days when there's not news. So
the market's will be there tomorrow, won't they?
It's always going to be there, mate. It's not going anywhere. So
exactly.
So did you hear about this thing where they might be opening the New York Stock Exchange 24/7?
I did see that actually. Yeah. So
like,
that was something that it appeared on my Instagram feed.
Yeah, same.
But it was
I tried to look into it to see if it was fake or not, but it looks like they're actually considering it.
Yeah. So it was one of those things that popped up on my feed, but